What's up, family? This is your man, not your boy, Papa Roo, coming at you. I hope that your day is as blessed as my day is. And I hope that as you wind down or you're getting up in the morning, that you're thankful that things aren't worse as or they could be. I want to say that I got some letters and emails that people sent questions. I'm very thrilled over that because of the fact that here it is that I am wanting to give back to our community. 60-year-old man who just want to help and assist those couples, individuals, married folk, or what have you, that may be struggling in life issues. Questions that I know that I've been through throughout my life that I had to come to some hardcore facts when it comes to resolving issues through some powerful words. I like to call them ancient words. But I might go ahead and lay out some letters that were sent to me email, and we're going to talk about and address it. Peace and blessing to you, B Bob. I hope all is well with you. And without further ado, though, let's just get into this right here because, you know, many people have problems. Everybody in this life has some issues. People are seeking advice. Some people are seeking answers. Many people out here have found themselves in a place that where they can't even function because their mind is toiled. They are in hot situations where they can't even think straight. Some even go on to therapists, try to talk out their issues and the problems of life, and some still don't get answers. But I'm here to tell y'all that it comes a day when you realize that in this universe are laws, instructions that we can follow that makes our life better. So I'm gonna get into reading these letters that some people have written to me, and let's see exactly what the gold nuggets are going to be. Shout out to this individual, and I appreciate that you all can also be anonymous if you so choose, that you can send an email over to dearpaparoo@gmail.com. You want to ask a question. And I'm going to put in the link for those who want to call in and ask a question, concern that you might have. You're in a tight situation that we can have that conversation and address because I ain't going to do nothing but give you straight truth. Not what I think. I'm not going to give you my opinion, but I'm going to give you some universal truths that helped me along the years of my life being 60 years on this earth. So let's get into the first question. Dear Papa Roo, I'm a 42-year-old Black man married for 15 years with 3 kids in Atlanta. About 8 months ago at work, I developed feelings for a coworker after my wife and I had been emotionally distant for years. Nothing physical has happened, but emotionally, I feel more connected to this coworker than my spouse. I don't want to destroy my family, but I also don't want to live unhappy. What should I do with feelings I didn't plan to have? You know what's so funny? The word feelings is a trip. I mean, because when you ask people, what describe to me these feelings, and I already know the emotions that we feel. You feel a burning side and burning feeling inside. Your goosebumps rise up on your skin, your hair stands up, and you feel like this new individual has brought forth life into you. And you have this feeling of differences that you may have with that one that you call your spouse. But let's dissect what this man said. He's been married for 15 years with 3 kids. And 8 months ago at work, he come across who? A coworker. A coworker after his wife had been emotionally distant for years. Let me say this right here. You know, what is amazing is when I call it a breath of fresh air. When things aren't going right at home, take it from me. I was married, my first marriage, 17 years, never cheated on my wife. I'm married now, remarried 10 years, never cheated on my wife. I have a different outlook. And I'm going to get to you the gold nugget so you can, for those who may go through this, can understand. But I've always looked at the woman outside of my marriage who will give me the attention, knowing that I'm married. She has her alternative motives to try to replace the one that I, in the beginning, asked for her hand in matrimony. You know, I run away from very disrespectful women who would try to trample over my marriage. And sometimes there are those out here, men and women, who will lend an ear and try to get you advice because they want you, especially lonely people. And you can fall into the traps of this of the spider's web when it comes to you feeling lonely at home. Now, I know we all have arguments, disagreements, but you got to understand that every day that goes by without conversations to deal with the issues you have causes that much more of a barrier for you to fight through to get back to the individual. Now, this 42-year-old man, and I appreciate his letter and, 15 years of marriage, 3 kids, you have a lot invested. And to want to possibly give that up for the sake of being with one that you've known for 8 months, you have a lot of rethinking to do, my brother. And I'm going to say it like this. Being a man that been through divorce, I know I've had kids, and it's tough when you let your kids go, they'll never be the same. Matter of fact, my dad, he left my mom and us, and it changed all of our lives drastically. So drastic that I lost my mother because she fell under a depression. She came into alcohol. She was not herself, and it had an effect on all of us. To me, I took the attitude at 16 years old, if he don't give a damn, I don't give a damn. I went out there in the street, started drinking, started stealing from stores. Fortunate enough, I didn't get caught because I was able to even go and join the military and get away at the age of 17. But the effects that I saw was one of the pillars of lessons that I vowed I would never leave or cheat on my family. Sad that I went through a divorce that was requested by an ex who wanted to be her own independent woman. Was something that I didn't like, but it was something that you just got to go and roll with. But to this man, I'm going to call him a young man. He's 42. I'm 60. Your emotions, you have to put in check and man up. You need to find that place where you can go to your wife and have conversations. You are going to have to fight through the battle of the distance that has been created between you and your wife over the years. You have to find the why in you asking this woman to marry you and bore 3 children for you so that you can get back on track. Now, I know you didn't give me all the answers. You didn't give me everything that I don't know what's really going on behind the scene. So when I say you need to, I'm talking about giving you an option to reconcile. That should always be the first option. You're never going to hear me say leave because the Most High never said leave. And in that, I believe reconciliation can happen. Sometimes the damage is too far gone and there is no room for a heart to heal. And if a person's in that place, they got decisions to make. But let me drop the gold nuggets, because it ain't about what I think. It ain't about what I went through. It's about a concrete words of wisdom that I can lay down these gold nuggets based upon the universal laws for one to pick up and look within themselves. Are they willing to live their life after that words of wisdom? So let me give you some gold nuggets, things that I found myself to bring in and incorporate in my life that is nothing but more than a kickstart in developing my life, my marriage, and staying on track of how those words of wisdom are. I find that my life is more fruitful. Let's go to Jeremiah 17 and 19. And it reads that the heart is deceitful above all things. You know, let me say this right here. The heart means the mind. And in that mind, we have all kind of thoughts that come across. You know, we can convince ourselves to make some terrible decisions. We can turn around and, you know, ruin good things over some bonehead decisions without having some good, wise advice that can keep you in order to make you successful. But it reads this right here. The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? I, the Lord, search the heart. I try the reins, even to give every man according to his ways and according to the fruit of his doing. You see, I had to understand some things here in this life. Outside of me and inside of me, there is a power greater than I. And I realized over some years, it didn't come easy, y'all. There is a voice, there is a presence, an energy, y'all call it, a vibration, you want to call it. We like to throw around these words, but there is a consciousness that exists, that roams around, that lends you an ear, a word of to lend into your ear. That we just saw that searches out your mind so that then it can speak loudly and clearly to you. Only if you're wide open to hear. And this man who I'm talking to, you're going to have to make some decisions because what you're thinking, as you said, you feel, you feel, like, your feelings that I didn't, what should I do with feelings I didn't plan to have? You've lent your ear to a woman who wants to speak in it and give you words that are leading you astray. But all the while, let's not even cast blame on the woman. It's what you really want to do. You said, I feel more connected to this coworker than my spouse. You said 8 months ago at work that y'all developed this so-called relationship. But are you willing to throw it away for a woman you were married to for 15 years, gave you 3 children? Or are you man enough to reconcile? Everybody talks about how strong they are. I'm a strong black man. I'm a strong, independent woman. But soon as things get hard, we run the other way. We don't run towards each other. We tend to run the other way. But let me tell you what the young lady at your your coworker has done. But I'm not going to put the blame on her because this is something that every man has to go up against, and that is called temptation. James 1 and 14, those who follow me, because this is, I can't tell you what I would do. I'm going to tell you what scripture is going to lay out to give you something that you're going through so that you can understand what you're battling with. So if you go to James 1 and 14, this is what it says. This is what it says. But every man is tempted when he is drawn away of his own lust and enticed. You don't think that woman enticing you? And you drawn away in your own lust? Because what? Here it is. You see something new, refresh, giving you attention. And you don't understand that the lust that is in you is drawing you further away from your wife. This is what it is. Then it says 15, then when lust has conceived, meaning that you've stayed in that situation for a time period that it has conceived, it's taken birth now. It brings forth sin. That means you done broke the universal law. And the sin, when it is finished, brings forth death. I'm going to tell you, I've seen many men fall terribly who fell into lust. And I say to you, my brother, if you call yourself a man, it behooves you to fight for your wife, close the gap of distance, and reconcile, because the Most High said, what he hath put together, let no man take apart. This is what he said. Don't let nobody come take apart your marriage. Don't use the excuse that y'all been distant for years. Time to put on the boots, put on the daggone BDUs, and get ready for war and fight for what's yours. Because not only a bum decision can have tremendous impact and effect on your life, but it would double the impact that are on your children's life. So thank you for sending that letter there. And I appreciate it. You know, let me look at here what some people are saying. Feelings are not facts. You're Mario Wig is my brother, or is that my nephew? Oh, what's up? Okay, peace and blessings. Yeah, it's tough. You know, that was a great question. This happens often. 100%, it does. Let me go ahead and read the next question. Dear Papa Roo, I'm a 34-year-old Hispanic woman in Houston, married 6 years. 2 years ago, I started earning nearly triple my husband's income. Uh-oh. And since then, he's become withdrawn and sometimes resentful. He says he feels replaced as a provider. I never intended to challenge his role, but now our marriage feels like competition instead of partnership. Interesting. Well, I know there are some guys who might feel that's because that feeling again, feel like they're threatened. But he says he feels replaced as the provider. I'm going to give y'all my situation, but I'm going to go ahead and address this real quick. How you 34-year-old, you've been married 6 years, you started working a job, and you triple your husband's income. He's become withdrawn and sometimes resentful. Let me speak to you first, the woman. Sometimes we don't even realize that we can put off messages to the other that we're making more money than them. Sometimes, it could be a dispute in the household, or there might be a situation in the house and one wants to make it clear that they're holding their own in the household, and they're taking care of business in the household. We do sly things like that. And I wonder, in what part do you play in him feeling that way? Is any of that going on? Because I don't know. But I can say this right here. Be aware of how you address things when it comes to finances around the house. Bills need to be paid. If if it came to making decisions on buying things, because there may be comments that you're making that might trip him up and make him feel that way. But in saying all that, let me speak to the man. You know, he sounds like a man who really wants to provide if he feels such a way. But let me tell you, my brother, my wife makes 4 times as much as I make, not triple, 4 times as much as I make. And I established my marriage different probably than you did. I know that I'm a man who's going to provide for my household, and I'm going to do whatever it takes. When I was uh, previously married, as you heard before, I took care of everything. I didn't need my wife's money, and I didn't want that to even cross her mind that she was helping or assisting. Nothing wrong with helping and assisting. But for me, it's a thing that how I was raised. My mama was she raised us. She took care of the house. My dad, he worked. He worked 2 jobs. I seen my dad work 2 jobs. And he did whatever it was needed in the house. I remember my dad told me this one time before. He said, "Son, don't ever depend on a woman's money, because if she gets caught in how she feels about the job, she'll quit on you." So I asked my dad, said, "Well, Dad, why do you say that?" I mean, he he had a past pain. My mother had gotten a job, but what happened was she wanted a new living room set. And my dad said they couldn't afford it at the time. But as time would go on, they could get it as long as he saves the money. But she came up with the idea she'll go get a job and buy the furniture for the living room, which she wanted. He agreed to it. Turned around, she quit the job. She quit the job. She hated the job. It was something that she detested. And he said it was something he had to go take care of. I took that piece of advice. And what I did was I made sure that if I got married, I'm going to make sure that I take care of all the expenses of the house. I did not want to lean on a woman's money. My wife currently that I'm married to, as I said, makes 4 times as much as I do. Do you know my household? We don't use her money for any bills. Now, some people will say, "Whoa, she makes 4 times. Y'all could be living a whole total different lifestyle." Oh, yes, we can. Yeah, we can go out and buy a $2-3 million home, and I can drive my $250,000 Bentley. I can go ahead and then we can do all those things. But the money that I bring in is suffice to live very good. Not to the level that many people would take that money and say, "Oh no, we're going to get the big house. We're going to get the mansion, really. We're going to go and we're going to live to our extreme and then find ourselves financially." But no, my wife, before we got married, there were things that I had put in place. And I was going to live by them. And she agreed that her money would not take care of anything. That is my providing job. So, young lady, you and your husband have if he feels that way, let it rest on his shoulders to take care of the household. And see, will he embrace your money to defray the expenses so that the burden may not be heavily upon his shoulders. Now, what me and my wife do with her money is we enjoy the trips and we delve into things that, brings us forth the adventures and, the traveling and exploring and all those things right there, that it leaves us a lot of leg room, a lot of leeway to go even extravagant in living it up. But as far as the house, it doesn't. And this is how I even shared it to my wife, so that you're listening to, young lady. I explained it to my wife that one of the reasons that I don't want her money going towards a house, because I don't right now. I don't want her working. She enjoys working, so there's no problem with her working. But I want what the way I got it laid out. It brings her liberty. That means that the weight is not carrying on her shoulders. You see, I want her to be able to have the freedom. If the job gets hard, she can come home and say, "Baby, I quit my job today." And I say, "Okay, cool. The house ain't going to miss anything. The house ain't going to be suffering." And if something happens to me where the providership can't happen, she can always step in if it got to that point. And that's the beauty. Because when you live a life where both incomes are heavily dependent upon paying bills in your lifestyle, if one loses the job, you are in trouble. So if your husband, wants to feel like he, wants to be that provider, tell him by all means, take away your money and let him leave the house in his income. And we'll see how long does he go, and if he's able to withstand withstand and sustain the household off his income. If he's able to do that, now he knows he's providing, according to what you said, strictly for the house. And your money that you make 3 times as much can go into a whole lot of things, especially if y'all got children. Let me give y'all some gold nuggets though, because these are the gold nuggets. It ain't about me, what I think. What does the Most High say? Because these are ancient writings that are tried and true, that if people follow, it can help you tremendously in your marriage. The one thing that your husband do have is pride. So let's go to Proverbs 16 and 18. Let's check that out, because his pride definitely has him bruised. He feeling a certain kind of way because he feels like he's not a provider. Proverbs 16 and 18 says, "Pride goeth before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall." You see, he's already that pride before, but what comes after the pride? Destruction. When you boast it up and you think you're something, the fall's coming. And you've already said he's withdrawn. Withdrawal is fallen. The destruction has happened. And sometimes resentful. It says, "Better it is to be of a humble spirit with the lowly than to divide the spoil with the pride. He that handles a matter wisely shall find good, and whosoever trusts in the Lord, happy is he." Because ultimately, it's the Lord who's doing the providing for you. But don't get puffed up to where you feel as though that you think you're the provider. And now that your wife is making 3 times as much as you're feeling withdrawn and resentful. And you feel like, as you said, your wife said, feel like replaced as a provider. Let me give you one more gold nugget. Let's go to Ecclesiastes 4:9. I hope y'all follow along with me on this. Ecclesiastes 4:9. Listen to this right here. "Two are better than one, because they have a good reward for their labor. For if they fall, the one will lift up his fellow. But woe to him that is alone when he falls, for he has not another to help him up. Again, if two lie together, then they have heat. But how can one be warm alone? You see, you see, this is powerful. This is some powerful things that we can chew and eat off and, let it slowly digest. That when a husband and a wife comes together, they become one and you support each other. One has each other's back. Two is better than one. Yes, if one falls, the other one's got the back. This is what I was saying. Though I take care of my household off of just my income, my wife, who makes 4 times as much as I do, her money goes elsewhere. That's called helpmate. It's a beautiful thing. So I hope that helps. Let's get to this last one here because I'm gonna do. I got one. I got a total of 4, but hopefully y'all who watch send some more letters. Let's get into this next one right here. Dear Paparoo, I am a 51-year-old white man in Chicago, married 20 years. My wife recently discovered I've hidden credit card debt for nearly 5 years after losing money in investments during the pandemic. I was ashamed and kept trying to fix it myself. Now she says the betrayal hurts more than the money. There goes again, tough hiding from your spouse. Definitely you'll lose trust quickly, especially if you consider yourself to be a team and you confide in each other and you let each other know what the one the other are doing. And of course, you're finding out that this hidden card debt for nearly 5 years after losing money in investments during that pandemic, probably set y'all back some. You didn't say how much the money was. And I know she says it hurts more than the money. And I'm with her on that. But, how do you fix it? How do you gain trust again? How do you, rebuild what you destroyed? This is something that, many people will not take that challenge. Many people will give up, throw their arms up and say, I'm done. I'm out of here. How do you regain trust? The old saying is this right here. It takes a lifetime to gain. It takes a second to lose respect and a lifetime to gain it back. And that is true. It takes a lot, man. You lose trust with somebody, man, or respect from somebody. It can take a lifetime to gain it back, and it only takes a second to lose it. But let's get into the gold nuggets, though, because how did your actions do? Because sometimes when we do actions, we don't understand the effects it really had on a person. And so let's go into some gold nuggets. Ephesians 4:25. Let's go to that. Ephesians 4:25. Yep. 4:25. Because what you did really was deceiving. You lied probably over those 5 years. And this is what it says. Ephesians 4:25. Wherefore, putting away lying, speak every man truth with his neighbor, for we are members one of another. You got to speak truth. You should be open and honest with your spouse. You should be, as an open book, not to hide, because hiding means you already know they're going to disagree. You know what they're already going to say and feel. So you rather do it in secrecy. And where does that leave you? A deceiver. And you said you're 51 years old, married 22 years. 51 years old, you just around the corner from retirement. And it seems as though that you might have dipped into some of them, the money that could have went to other places. So how then, you can be able to recover, reconcile? You got to ask for forgiveness. I know that she's probably hurt, but sometimes you're going to have to make it up. Now, I'm not talking about sucking up. No, she's going to have to work herself through that and forgive. But you're going to have to, after all, ask for the forgiveness. You're going to have to prove yourself again. You're going to have to do, as they say, do extra credit around the house. You're going to have to be open and have some really heart-to-heart conversations. You're going to have to do that. Let's go to Numbers 32 and 23. I like this right here. Numbers 32 and 23. Listen to this right here. Listen to this right here. But if you will not do so, behold, you have sinned against the Lord, and be sure your sin will find you out. Listen to this. When you think that you're going to get away with something, it's just a matter of a fact. You can hide and cheat and have secrets and stuff. The way this life works, as the scripture says, what is done in the dark shall come to light. And as this says, your sin will find you out. I don't know whether or not she found out or you had no other recourse but to tell her the truth and tell her that you lost money in investments and that it's gone. The money's gone. And it found you out. Didn't say how she found out, but the truth that you did in the dark came to light. And you have to bear it and you have to make up for it. But be of good cheer, because if you love your wife, you said for 22 years, you're going to have to fight for the marriage. And you're going to have to prove yourself again that you're that husband that she married, who the trust that y'all had together can be resalvaged. So, you guys, this is very interesting, very good stuff. I hope that this helped you out. I hope that, appreciate that, LB. I hope that, we can, each day I just want to, as people just write me letters, I can just come here and share the letters and give a godly word of wisdom, because today people take anybody's advice and can cause devastation in their life and in their marriages and their relationships. But in this universe, there are laws and rules and instructions we can follow that can make your life a whole lot easier. Don't be afraid to pick up Proverbs that's in the scriptures. Got a lot of wisdom. Now we got everything that's easy. You can go to ChatGPT and type in something and it can bring you up anything, if you're trying to look up some words that can help you along the way in your relationship. So with that, family, peace and blessings to each and every one of you. I hope your day is as blessed as mine. All right. You all have a good night, good evening, or a good morning. Peace.